there was a need. Get a well-known graphic novel writer to write a team-up movie the likes of world have never seen before. Get a star-studded cast together and have it flop really hard. How does a film of this potential, this massive potential, become one of the biggest flops of the 2000s? Beyond me, this is how The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen became extraordinary for all the wrong reasons. It's a team of literary characters. Okay, we start off with Quatermain, played by Sean Connery. Brief introduction of him. He's just a dead good shooter. Pew pew. I play a lot of Red Dead Redemption, okay? He is what everybody who plays Red Dead Redemption thinks they are. He has 2020, well, he hasn't got 2020 vision, that's sort of a joke.
I hate getting older.
He has perfect aim. He is Daredevil's worst bad guy. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'll come around to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when I get to the plot part. We meet him. We meet Nemo, the Nautilus guy. He's like an inventor of sorts, some sort of technology whiz kid dude. He makes this huge submarine. Apparently before submarines existed. This is 1890 something, okay? We get our Invisible Man. Now, they don't want to use the Invisible Man because nobody knows his name. So they invent a new character, Rodney Skinner. He's a gentleman thief. He calls himself that himself. I'm not making that term up. He literally describes himself as a gentleman thief. He stole the serum to make himself invisible because he figured that would be good for business.
Would be a boon for my work.
Which logically it would be. Works out though. Can't go back. So he's one of my favorite characters, by the way. I like invisible men. I don't like invisible men, but like the concept of an invisible man. I don't mind an invisible woman. Gender is not specific on my invisibility enjoyment, okay? I just like the idea of an invisible character. And then a doctor, a woman doctor.
Please tell me this is Harker's wife with a sick note.
That's the big thing that they really focus on to start off with, that she's a woman.
I'm waiting to be impressed.
Ain't it hard to be a woman? There's some sexism.
Oh, she's probably hip deep in some sort of trouble.
From Sean Connery. Is it scripted? I don't know. It might have been. He might have just started saying stuff. It's not important. I just like the joke. We meet Captain Nemo's right-hand man who says, "Call me Ishmael."
Call me Ishmael.
Within like 10 seconds, we have a "Call me Ishmael" joke. Star-studded, so we've got more. I got more to go. We meet Dorian Gray, the guy who doesn't age because he has a painting of himself. It's like a witch painted it. I'm not sure how the plot works. He doesn't age. It doesn't matter. Does it matter that he doesn't age? He doesn't age. That's because he has a painting. So, I don't know. What we do find out is not just the Doctor is a woman, but she's also a vampire woman. That we're still finding out people. By the way, this like get together of the people, of the cast that I'm still going on about, is because the first 50 minutes is of us meeting the characters. In a 2-hour movie, well, 1 hour and 50-minute movie, 10 minutes of it is credits. In a nearly 2-hour movie, 50 minutes of it is spent meeting the characters. And then we also meet my other favorite character, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, I have read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so there's a win for me. A point for me, please. Single solitary point for moi for reading that book. But we meet him. I love the character design of this. He's sort of hulking, but very, I wouldn't say realistic. He's not realistic, but he's sort of, I think he's there. I think he's practical. I will find out if he's practical or not. But he is, it looks very practical. It looks great for it. Other than at the end where they have a big fight. But at the beginning, he looks very good for it. Even with his big rubbery swingy arms. All these guys are hired by a guy called M to chase down another character called the Phantom. Phantom looks like a Goosebumps bad guy. He's got this sort of Phantom of the Opera mask. He's an arms dealer and he's got a goosed up face. But he's the bad guy. We got told he's the bad guy. He must be the bad guy. I see half of the movie at this point is meeting the characters, meeting the bad guy, meeting everything, okay? Putting this in on the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, there is a lot of like what I would describe as 13 Ghosts / MTV editing. When he does the transform, I guess it's so they don't have to CGI it, which I do applaud them for. But they do a lot of this sort of what I would describe as MTV editing, whereas a lot of light flashing cuts, very quick edits. I don't mind it. I don't like drawing the angles. I don't hate it. I just don't love it, okay? We find the interpolation of all the characters out. There is only one woman, so everybody has to horn after the one solitary woman, the vampire woman. Hyde, well, Dr. Jekyll, should I say, because he's Jekyll. He's Jekyllin' around. He's Jekyllin' around, and he says, Dorian Gray trying it on with the vampire woman. Apparently he had an old flame. We also find out Mr. Sawyer, the American who's tagging along, he has no powers. He also fancies the vampire woman. I say, 8 men at sea, more with the rest of the crew. Only one lady. It's not just a little crush going around. But I guess that's the problem. This is all based on Alan Moore's critically acclaimed novel of the same name. A mix of like Victorian stories with like a gritty adult twist. It's one of them. Oh, they all know each other. You get them all the time. Okay, whenever something's slightly popular, like steampunk was sort of popular in the noughties, we get these kind of adult twists. We're doing it now with Beauty and the Beast. I know what you're all doing out there with Beauty and the Beast. Okay, I know that's happening. Don't think I don't know what's going on. But this is one of these tales of, as Alan Moore tends to have, a tale of an amazing story. And to be honest, with one that I don't dislike. An amazing plot. Really well written and rounded characters, but far too much studio interference. And you can see it in the film. Like, it seeps studio interference. There is fight scenes that I don't feel needed to be there. There's a couple of Jekyll ones that are there for no reason. There's some good stuff, don't get me wrong. But there is also some bad stuff. The source material is from Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics. They were first published in 1999. They're Alan Moore. It's dark, it's gritty. It's not exactly designed to be turned into a movie, but neither was Watchmen. And I love that. Blue Swinger, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. This is during the obsession with comic book movies. Not that we're out of it. We're not out of it yet. We're near the end of the tunnel, boys, but we ain't out of it. X-Men was doing well in 2000. Spider-Man was doing amazing in 2002. Mainly thanks to Sam Raimi. Let's not pretend it's not Sam Raimi on the other end of that camera. As Fox does, buying up a bunch of projects. The Matrix was about to come out. X-Men, I think another X-Men was just about to come out. So Fox has to rush to get this film ready and out into the world. Does it look rushed? Not particularly, but I don't think they spent the time looking at the core material before they said, get your wallets out, boys. Normally I can just blame the studio. Sean Connery phones it in, okay? At this point, he'd already famously turned down The Matrix and Lord of the Rings because he didn't understand them. He didn't understand the plot of The Matrix, even though it's a very simple plot. He didn't understand Lord of the Rings. Two blokes walking around with a ring, I don't get it. So, out of desperation, boredom, I don't know. Because there is a couple of films that he has said yes to, because I think he has a mortgage to. He just accepted this one, even though, again, he didn't understand it. He didn't understand what's going on. I think he just likes the idea of playing. When you're watching it, he feels like he's playing Indiana Jones's dad. And I ain't against it. Behind the scenes, things aren't doing so well either. Other than Sean Connery being Sean Connery. Probably sexist. The director Stephen Norrington, the guy who did Blade, so again, oh, Ryan Reynolds, didn't see you there. Clash with Connery all the time during this film. It's well documented again that they just didn't like each other. Again, mainly because Sean Connery, I don't understand the scene. What's going on here in this scene? I don't understand. Am I Indiana Jones's dad? So I presume it's that stuff. One of the big things is how bad the film is. I don't think it's as bad as everybody makes. It's not as good as it could be, but it's not as bad as everybody makes out. One of the big things is they try and hide these little clues, these little nods. So the plot is somebody somebody took Hyde's formula, and then we find out that M sent a spy in to steal a little bit of everyone. A little bit of blood from the vampire lady, skin samples, a bit of dandruff maybe, I don't know.
You scratch me.
It's not, you see him, he takes a little skin sample, but you're just meant to expect it to be the thief. You're told, literally directly to camera, that Skinner is the bad guy.
Skinner. He's taken a vial of my formula.
Even though you as a viewer has seen Dorian Gray purposely, almost, take a blood sample from the vampire lady, taking skin samples from the Invisible Man, and we just have to sort of presume that he took some Hyde formula. They also find phosphorus, so that means somebody took photos of how the Nautical works. That's the name of the submarine, by the way, the Nautical. We're just told that it's Skinner, so we have to presume it's Skinner. Even though we know it's not, it's Dorian Gray, which just tends to be where the backlash comes from a little bit, in my opinion. Also, some of the ridiculousness of it, and that doesn't make any sense. There's a bit where they're chasing down people. I don't think this is a bad thing in the film. It's just annoying. They're chasing down somebody in a very fast car. It's the first ever car made. So either they're driving 30 miles an hour, or people can just jump out of cars and not fall. They jump out of the back of the car and land perfectly on their feet like cats, including Sean Connery, a man who's old as tits. He's old. Why is he jumping out the back of the car? And then he lands on his feet, no rolling. If he rolled, I'd let it go. Okay? If he rolled, I'd let it go. He doesn't. He just lands perfectly on his gosh darn feet. Surprise, surprise, we find out after chasing somebody down that Dorian Gray is the guy who did all the bad. Okay, he stole everybody's genes. He shoots Ishmael, call me Ishmael, gets shot. That's when we find out he's the bad guy. We're not shocked. As a viewer, we're not shocked. We saw it all happen and we saw it unfold. I think they were meant to be doing the, oh, if you watch it again, you get a little close. No, you didn't. What you just told us what was going to happen. And then you went, oh, but you didn't see that happen. And you were like, yeah, we did. We saw it happen, literally saw it happen. You didn't have to tell us. Hyde gets his hero's journey moment. A couple of them, in fact. Hyde saves everybody on the boat. And then he has a big fight with a big version of himself. That's in a bit. But we get the plot. We get all the plot fed to us again. It turns out that M, there's a clue again. M is James Moriarty. An unimportant clue. A guy yells James. We find out M is James Moriarty, and he's also the Phantom. They're all the same guy, and he wants to make an army of, like, a hireable army of a bunch of invisible men, a bunch of Hydes, a bunch of vampire. I don't know how they're going to control vampire people. The other two I get. Okay, they seem cognitive. But the vampire lady, she's like, I need blood. Whoa, what for bar? Skinner also gets his arc, okay? He jumps on a guy because he's invisible. He jumps on a guy after fighting another invisible man. Jumps on a guy who's got like a flamethrower. He gets his skin burned off. He's fine though, don't worry. Skinner is fine. We also get what I presume is the scene that really ruined this movie. To be honest with you, I think this is where the producer were like, let's get a fucking... There's a good joke. I love the joke. I don't like the execution afterwards. A guy steals a big ball of the Hyde serum. And instead of just a little sip, which is what Hyde does, he glugs it down like a glug jug on Fortnite. He really glugs it down.
Not the whole thing.
The Hyde line is hilarious. Rest of the fight, not so much. It's so much CGI. And we're not ready for this level of CGI in the 2000s. We're not ready for this. The Matrix looks fine. To be honest with you, now when you watch The Matrix now, it doesn't look as good. But at the time, it was fine. We get told about the plot once again. I think this is why it got so bad on the Rotten Tomatoes. I say this is what it comes down to me is always the fact that the problem with the Rotten Tomatoes score is it thinks the audience is dumb. And it will just keep telling you what the plot is. And I think that's what really affected it in the long run. It's got a Rotten Tomato score of 17. It did fine in the box office, but it got and this is early Rotten Tomato scores, by the way. This is early days of the Rotten Tomato score. And it made a difference back then. 17. This is before people would like purposely give them bad scores. That's not even room temperature. This was also Sean Connery's last live act. Officially, he did some voices of a racist cartoon
To lure him to your deck.
But this is the last ever live action role of Sean Connery. He will retire on this. And now that we go back on it now, it's not as bad. A lot of people say it's a right film. This has also been designed specifically, because this is what all films are designed to do, to be part of a series. The whole thing was Sean Connery does sadly die in the movie. But there's this line throughout the entire thing that as long as he's in Africa, he cannot die. And they bury him in Africa. And somehow he like zombifies. I don't know. Okay. They do the X-Men thing with the dirt. But the dirt does like or is it Superman? Somebody does it. In fact, I think a lot of films do it. But they show you the dirt moving. And you're like, oh, he must be still alive. But this movie broke Sean Connery. And it broke the franchise. They never did a franchise again. I think it also broke Alan Moore. Alan Moore is well known for disliking his movies that are based off his stuff. But he really hates this film. Arguably, maybe Alan Moore's stuff just shouldn't be turned into films. Okay. From Hell, V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta is different. At the time, V for Vendetta did terribly. Okay, it's a cult classic now, but at the time it didn't do very well. Watchmen, same principle. I love Watchmen. I watched Watchmen in the cinemas with a now ex-girlfriend. She was confused as all hell, but I loved every second of it. Even the little blue wanger. Every second, every frame of that movie to me is art. But Alan Moore's stuff, unless you're already an Alan Moore fan, does not translate well to the big screen. He also hates Hollywood. So, he hates it. I don't know why he keeps selling this. This is the thing. I don't know why. The cash. Does he need the cash, Alan Moore? Get you a couple of bucks. Despite the flaws of the movie, there's something oddly charming about it. Is it itself taking itself seriously and ridiculous at the same time? Is it that I would take it seriously and take it ridiculous at the same time? I don't know. There is just something about this movie that I love. I'm not sure if some of the lines are meant to be read as fun. There's unintentional or intentional humor. I already referenced the one that I love the most. But there is a load of jokes.
Home's where the heart is, that's what they say.
A load of one-liners
And my hips are none of your business.
in this film that I'm not sure if they think they're badass.
This is Africa, dear boy. Sweating is what we do.
And I love it. There's a bit where Sawyer is fighting an invisible man. And there's just a knife. Just, whoa, like these, I don't know if he's doing that or not. Just hilarious to me. It's one of these movies that I love for multiple reasons. It's a train wreck, but it's a really well-crafted train wreck where somebody definitely loved making this train wreck. And it's like a train wreck in slow motion, but every motion is hand painted. The aftermath. I gotta talk about the aftermath of this movie because it's insane. Norrington, the director, retirement. Full retirement. He's never directed a film after this. Okay. Sean Connery, retired. A lot of people's favorite actor for a period of time vanished into the abyss. The film itself, for a good few years, disappeared from people's minds. No sequels, no cult following, or not until recently. I think they started to get one. It's just a forgotten relic of the 2000s. Fox, as they do, considered a reboot. But 2010, they considered a reboot of this movie straight to TV. I don't want that. I don't want a TV show. I want another movie. Give me another movie. The lesson learned from this movie in Hollywood for a short period of time, okay? A little period of time, about 7 years, is don't rush into film adaptations of comic books without doing your research. That's why we say, like, actors going to comic book stores when they get a part, or doing a lot of research, or actors who were already big fans of that character getting that role. Some of them even fought together. Are we coming out of that now? Yes, we are. And it's obvious. The MCU is dying. The DCU is on life support. But when it comes down to it, okay, the core issue is it's not just bad. And it's not confusing. It thinks it's confusing, and that's the problem. It thinks that you are not smart enough to go watch this movie and put together who the bad guy is halfway through. It thinks you're an idiot, and that's my biggest gripe with this movie. It thinks you're dumb. It thinks I'm dumb. This movie thinks everyone is dumb because it insists on itself that you do not know who the bad guy is. Have you seen this movie? If you have, I want to know is it one of them films that you think is on the cusp of being a cult classic? I think it's just on the cusp at the moment of being a cult classic. I think people are starting to regain. It's like it's starting to pop back in people's minds, and I think that it will become a cult classic. I want to know if you think it'll become a cult classic, or if you already think it's a cult classic.